What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love After Lockup Season 5, Episode 34. How mentally stable are you? Let's get into True and Shanta, or is it Shantae? So they're back at the rental because they had gone to his parole officer's office. He was supposed to meet with this PO. For whatever reason, that didn't take place. The PO wasn't there or something. I don't know what. But in the car, they were arguing back and forth because Shanta thinks that True is not taking any of um, his post inmate life seriously. Like, he really doesn't care about meeting with this PO. He doesn't want to follow any rules. He basically just wants to do his own thing, live his own life, and not be controlled by anybody. Not the state, not the PO, not Shanta, not anybody. So when they get back to the rental, they talk about their issues. Their biggest problem, according to them, is their communication problem. They feel like neither one is listening to the other. Shanta asks, so where do you want us to be? Because it seems like, they hit a rough patch in their relationship. Like I said, they claim that they're having communication problems. He thinks that she's too much of a homebody, that she's too boring. She thinks that he's not taking life seriously. She wants him to be a little bit more responsible. So she finally asks him, so what are we to each other? What do you want us to be? Because currently they're engaged. While he was still in prison, he had proposed to her. She accepted his proposal and they are like officially engaged. So she says, do you want us to go back to being friends? Do you just want to just date, or do you want to stay engaged? Now he gives a true F-boy response. He says, oh, I just want us to go with the flow. What the hell does that mean? She asked you a very specific question. Where do you want us to be? She gave him options: friends, just dating, stay engaged. What do you want? Choose A, B, C, or D. And he comes back with this very broad, very non-specific type of reply. Oh, let's just go with the flow. So she's like, what do you mean by that? And he says, well, I think we should go back to dating and trying to build our relationship and trying to get to know each other. So then Shanta asks him, do you mean you want us to date exclusively? And he flat out told her no. He doesn't want to date exclusively. He still wants the option open for them to date or see other people. So True said that, but he still will consider them together. He still wants to be paroled at her house, sleep at her house, eat at her house. But then during the day, he wants to, run the streets and do whatever the hell he wants. Or if he can't find no other girl's house to sleep at, he wants to be able to come back to her house and sleep at her house. So I was just like, Shanta, you're going to take this? Girl, you're going to accept this? Because if you're breaking off the engagement, and to me, he might as well break off the whole relationship. But if you're going to break up the engagement or break off the engagement, you can't be paroled to my house. I would have been like, you know what? You can stay at my place until your parole officer gives the okay for you to be paroled somewhere else. But you at my house, no, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I would not, absolutely would not allow him to stay in my house after he broke off our engagement. But then again, I don't make the kind of decisions that Shanta makes. I would never want to date an inmate and then expect him to be exclusively with me and me only once he's released from prison. Put all of this expectation on an inmate who hasn't been around a woman in Lord knows how many years, and then expect him to be monogamous with me, to be expect him to be upfront and honest with me. I wouldn't make the kind of decisions that Shanta makes. There's no way in hell I would ever be in a situation like this. So True tells us that it would have been better if she had been visiting him in prison, because remember, Shanta never once came to see him in prison in the whole time that they were dating and talking and being engaged and whatever. She never came to see him in prison. So True tells us that it would have been a lot better if she would have been visiting him in prison, because then they would have been working on their relationship. They would have been getting to know each other, because their visits were like, they have 4-hour long visits. They have plenty of time to really get to know each other, to figure out exactly where they wanted this relationship to go. So she said she's cool with everything because he kept on asking her, are you okay with this? How do you feel? And she kept on telling him, I'm cool. It's cool. Don't worry about me. It's cool. And he's like, no, for real. Tell me how you feel. And she's like, no, I'm fine. So True gives us a PSA announcement, right? A public service announcement. He tells the whole world that for all the women dating, go visit your dude in prison. If you're dating an inmate, go visit your dude in prison. Spend that precious time getting to know one another and to build your relationship. Thank you, True. Thank you for that PSA. The more you know. So he asked for a kiss because, they were talking in the bedroom, and he asked, no, can I give you a kiss? And she actually said yes. This man just made a complete fool of you on television by breaking off your engagement. You think it's because, he just wants to get to know, he just wants y'all to get to know each other better. The truth of the matter is, girl, he was using you from the get-go. He proposed to you and gave you all of that lovey-dovey talk, all of the sweet nothings that he was, whispering in your ear during your prison phone calls. He was giving you all of that so that you could send him money, so that you could write him letters. You could be his little companionship while in prison, so that he'll have somewhere to stay when he gets out, so that he'll have somebody to buy him designer clothes, put money on his commissary. He was just using you from the get-go. This man was using you from day one. And the fact that I even have to say this is like, I feel like it's so unnecessary because it's so obvious. This is the game that these are the games that people play when they are incarcerated. So when he asked you for a kiss and you said yes, he would have been kissing the bottom of my foot. So he asked for a kiss. She said yes. And, she was trying to be tough. When she was doing her little confessional outside, she was trying to be tough, but you could tell that Shanta was really hurt because she was crying. She was trying to fight back the tears, but the tears, they flowed anyway. She was really trying to like keep her emotions at bay, but the girl was really hurt because she says that she wasted 3 years of her life on this man. She spent thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars on this man up until he came out. And she even lost her job over this man when her job found out that she was dating an inmate. So she felt like she was played. If you felt like you were played, then this man should not set foot in your home. Call his PO or whoever's in charge of this stuff and see if he can be PO, he can be paroled somewhere else. He should not be setting foot in your house. He should not be anywhere near your children because this man was just using you like a toy, playing with you like a toy. So as she's struggling with her emotions and trying to keep it together because her whole entire life now has fallen apart because she can't do the things that she had planned on doing, which was marrying this man, introducing this man to her children, incorporating this man into her life, into her children's life. Now she's got to try to move on without him. She's no longer engaged. She ain't got no fiance no more. She's trying to keep it together. On the other side, he's talking about how he feels relieved. He actually said that. He goes, yeah, I actually feel relieved now because he was never feeling Shanta to begin with. He was never feeling, she was an easy victim, an easy prey for him because, she seems really vulnerable. She seems like somebody who was probably very lonely, looking for some type of companionship, couldn't find anybody on the outside, decides to find somebody in prison because what? The people in prison have all the time in the world to shower attention on you. So she was feeling lonely, felt like an inmate could give her the attention that she was seeking, turned into a full-blown engagement. And now this man is telling her, not only do I not want to be engaged to you anymore, but I also want to sleep with other people. But at the same time, I want to live under your roof and have you still take care of me. The next day, um, they're talking in the morning and she asked him, I don't understand, like, if we're no longer engaged and whatnot, why do you still want to be paroled at my house? And he says, because I still want us to build our bond and I still want us to get to know each other. He's like, we're still together. That's what he tells her. We're still together. It's just that we're no longer engaged and I'm definitely going to be seeing other people. So I just want to make sure you're cool with that. And Shanta's cool with that. So he ends up leaving again. Okay, he leaves again because his sister's coming to pick him up. And his sister is actually going to be taking him to the gym where she has arranged for True to meet one of her homegirls. And this is someone that he knew or he messed with or socialized with back in 2018 before he went to prison. And so now they're going to be reconnecting. So as soon as he breaks off his engagement with Shanta, he's already on the prowl for another female. Like within less than 24 hours later, he's meeting up with another female that his sister's arranging. And also the thing is this, okay, I understand that the sister never saw it for Shanta and True to begin with. I get it. The sister never felt like this was a good match. But still, like you should still be like a girl's girl and somewhat understand what Shanta's going through and not be in such a rush or not to aid and abet your brother into finding other females while someone who could have been your potential sister-in-law is trying to deal with a broken heart all alone in that Airbnb. The sister could have been like, yeah, let me go ahead and take Shanta out. Let me take her out to breakfast. Let me take her out to lunch, whatever. Because, I mean, I just couldn't imagine. The fact that the sister was like, well, I'm just going to go pick up my brother and introduce him to another female. I don't know if the sister knew that the engagement was broken. I'm assuming the sister already knew that. True already told his sister that he broke off the engagement with Shanta. I'm assuming. I'm hoping. Because it's going to be really grimy if the sister still thinks that they're engaged and is still trying to hook her brother up with another female. I mean, absolutely disrespectful. Whether you agreed with the relationship or not, Shanta is still a human being who still has feelings. And now your brother has broken her heart. And like, it's just not a good look for you to like less than 24 hours later try to hook your brother up with another female. I mean, I would have felt bad for Shanta. She's making dumb decisions, very stupid decisions. She's too old. She's got kids. You can't be making stupid decisions like this because you're also playing with your children's lives. But still, she's a woman who just had her heart broken by your own brother. And you know how your brother gets down. You know your brother is like a ladies' man, a heartbreaker, a player, an F boy, all of the above. Like, have a little bit of compassion and at least give it a couple of days before, you start pimping your brother out again. But Shanta, girl, I'm sorry. You should have known better. You should have known better. Like, True looks like someone who, is out here just playing women and breaking hearts left and right. So, I don't know. You decided to be blind to the red flags, and here we are. Moving on to Troy and Zariah. So, breaking news, y'all. Breaking news. Troy is not small, people. He's very well endowed because that was Zariah's biggest issue. Because I guess, maybe, I don't know why. Supposedly, he told her that he was small or something, or he wasn't that adequate or that endowed, and so it had the girl stressed. She was so stressed about that. But she saw the goods. He's not small, and she's very satisfied. So they bring up Troy's mother. So she tells him that he's going to be picking his mother up from the airport. And the reason why this news is so significant is because him and his mom have been estranged for like the past 7, 8 years. And he tells us that his mother basically abandoned him when he was about 2 to 3 years old. She dropped him off at a relative's house or a friend's house and never came back. So he was basically raised by his aunt or his grandmother or something and his dad. His mom was not a part of his life at all, never came to see him in prison. So they are very much estranged. And so he's feeling some kind of way that Zariah had arranged for him to go pick up his mom because he wasn't like mentally or emotionally prepared for that. And I guess this is her way of trying to help them reconcile. But I feel like she probably should have ran that by him before, she should have kind of like tested out the waters with him first to see how comfortable he was in meeting his mother. But he was willing to go ahead with it. So anyway, they leave the Airbnb or wherever the hell they were staying, and they get back to her house. So as soon as they get back home, her son, I think his name is Isaiah or something like that, her son comes running up to Troy, jumps all over Troy. He is so happy to see Troy because the boy is so hungry for a father. He was so excited to see Troy. Troy is the only father that he knows because his real dad really has nothing to do with him. His real dad doesn't pay child support. I'm assuming doesn't even visit him. So Troy has stepped in as the father figure. Troy is the father figure. He is the father because he legally adopted Zariah's son. So the boy was so excited. Troy had bought gifts for him. He was super excited about that. Then he also gets to meet the sister. Now, the sister doesn't really see it for Zariah and Troy. I'm not exactly sure what her issue with Troy is, other than him being in prison. I don't know if she has any other issues with Troy, but the sister's really not feeling Troy at all. So it was really awkward for her to meet him. And then it's time to go pick up his mom. And even Zariah tells us that Troy's mom is a handful. Like, she can only take her in small doses. So he goes by himself to go get his mom from the train station, I think it was. So he goes to meet up with his mom. This is the first time that they've seen each other in like 7 years. Unfortunately, Troy's dad has already passed away. And so he wanted answers from his mom. He wanted to know, like, like, what the hell? Like, you really weren't there for me. Why not? And the mom says alcohol. She was an alcoholic. She let the alcohol get in between her relationship with her son. So she was out there wilding out. And so he says that as he's talking to his mother, he's seeing some changes in her. Like, she is probably, maybe she has improved a little bit. So he's willing to give her another chance. She does apologize to him. And now he's just worried about how is she going to behave living with him and Zariah, because she's going to be staying with him and Zariah. He's just hoping and praying that his mom doesn't start no mess at his wife's home. So that's Troy and Zariah. Moving on to our newest couple, Bianca and Daniel. So Bianca is 23. Daniel is 31 years old. She's unemployed. He has just, he's about done doing 4 years in prison for aggravated DUI and third-degree burglary. They've been dating for about 8 months. Obviously, they met while he was in prison. She says she is so in love with him. This is the man of her dreams, the love of her life, her soulmate. He says the same thing about her. Have they seen each other in person? I don't think so. But they've definitely have seen each other in pictures. I don't think they've ever seen each other in person, because he's in Arizona. He's incarcerated in Arizona. She lives in Florida. So I don't think they've seen each other in person. I could be wrong though. So he's like, this is my person, the love of my life. I love her so much. So, of course, this prison love is intense. Okay. Prison love is always super, super duper intense until the inmate is released and real life hits you in the face. And so they are also engaged. Okay, they're engaged. Now, he is going to have to stay in Arizona to finish his parole. So she's planning on leaving Florida, moving to Arizona, and she's already gotten a rental in Florida. She's renting out an apartment, I think, or a house, and it's for 4 months, and she's already paid for it all up front. So if things don't work out with Daniel, hopefully she'll just take the rest of the time to enjoy Arizona until her lease expires. So she's already paid up for her little apartment up front. Now, 9 months prior, she was in a really horrible car accident. She was hanging out with her friend. They were drinking, and she said she didn't know that her friend was drunk. So her friend gets behind the wheel and runs into a concrete wall at the airport. And she fractured her back. She broke her neck. She's got this really ugly scar on her neck. Um, yeah, it was a pretty bad accident. She says that she couldn't talk for several months. And so during her recovery, for whatever reason, she felt the need to connect with someone in prison who was charged with a DUI. I didn't understand that, but that's what she said. I think that's what I heard, is that while she was in her recovery phase, she wanted to connect with people in prison who've had DUIs, who have been charged with or convicted of DUIs. And that's how she came across Daniel. And she says that she was hoping that they would be able to relate to each other because she's a victim of a DUI. He's a perpetrator of a DUI. So this was somehow supposed to help them connect or bond. I had no idea what she was talking about. So there was a lawsuit. She ended up getting a pretty big settlement. She says that she's not allowed to disclose exactly how much she got, but it was enough to where she doesn't have to work right now. I seriously doubt it's enough for her to not have to work at all for the rest of her life, but she says she doesn't have to work right now. And she's already told Daniel the amount that she got. And I'm like, girl, that is such a rookie move. Like, what are you doing? What is wrong with these people? You got Shanta, who's engaged to someone who is the definition of a red flag. You've got Bianca here who tells an inmate who she's never met in person, she's met him while he was doing time. She's telling him how much she got in a settlement and doesn't think to herself that maybe this is his motivation to want to be with me. Like, how could you, y'all? Anyways, so we see her with her best friend, and they are driving to the park with her dog. And on the way to the park, um, evidently her friend is not feeling, neither one, we saw two of her friends, right? One is her roommate, the other was her friend. Neither one of them is feeling Daniel at all. Okay, they both think that this is bad news for Bianca. So on the way to the park, her friend is like telling her, I think telling her to like be real careful, blah blah blah. And then she says to her friend, well, once he's released from prison, he's going to have to report to a halfway house, but he doesn't want to. He wants to stay with me at the apartment. And the friend tells her, girl, he has to go to the halfway house. If that's what they told him to do, he doesn't have a choice or an option. He has to go to the halfway house. And then she says, well, he's going to report to the halfway house. He just doesn't want to sleep there. And the friend is like, no, he has to stay there. And so then Daniel calls her, and already she starts getting into him because he was supposed to call her at a certain time or answer his phone at a certain time, but he didn't answer his phone, and she was really upset about that. And he was like, baby, I was in class. I couldn't answer the phone. I was in class. And she's like, don't baby me. And so they're kind of getting into this little argument about him not answering the phone. And, then we find out, y'all, it gets even better. We find out that Daniel has been married before. I'm assuming now he's divorced. And he also has a 13-year-old son. So now we have a child in the mix of all of this madness. So Daniel has a problem with addiction, alcohol and drugs. And Bianca says that she has no intention of not drinking. She says she's going to continue to drink alcohol in front of him, around him. She don't give a damn. She goes, she's not the problem with alcohol. She's not the one with the problem with alcohol. It's him. Evidently, this girl, I don't know where she's been living all her life, in a cave somewhere. Like, you should know that if you have someone in your life who is struggling with an addiction, they can't be around that, and they can't be around anything that's going to trigger their addiction. It's like you can't drink around this man if he has an alcohol and drug problem. That's like basic life rules. Like, where have you been, Bianca? So she's like, I don't care if he's got an addiction to alcohol. I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna drink. Um, I'm going to drink whenever I want, whatever I want, because I don't have a problem with alcohol. He does. Coincidentally, now his mother calls. When his mom calls her, they do the little small talk stuff about, oh, okay, Daniel's going to be coming out. We're all so excited. Then the mother says to her, make sure that there is no alcohol around him because he's still struggling. And if he begins to drink alcohol, it's going to trigger his drug use. So he has to stay away from alcohol. I don't know if this was sinking into her brain or not. I have no idea. Then Daniel's father comes on the phone and asks her, how mentally stable are you? And she was so offended by that question. I thought the father was trying to say, I can't believe you want to be with my son with all of his issues, with his being in prison and his addictions and everything else he's got going on. Like, how mentally stable are you to want to be with someone like this? I thought that's what the father was trying to say, but she took it as an offense, like he was questioning her sanity. And so she didn't like that at all. So Bianca is, to me, she's completely bananas. Absolutely bananas. She's only 23 years old, and she thinks like she kind of comes off like she really knows it all, but girl, you have no idea. You have no clue with what's going on. Moving on to Kim and Joey. Okay, so they go out to eat, Kim and Joey. They go out to eat after he's released from prison. Joey thinks that it was her ex baby daddy, ex-fiance. I don't know what he is to her, what he was to her. But Joey thinks that it was her ex that was sending him messages, trying to imply that Kim was messing around with another man. And he was sending messages under this name, Ashley. But he thinks that it was actually Kim's ex. I don't really care. So they go back to the Airbnb. She slips into something a little bit more comfortable. And you know what time it is, right? It's time to get it on and pop in. And we all know it's going to be the best they've ever had because, um, uh, after being released from prison, sex is always the best ever. I would think that it would go by really quick, because these men have been locked up for so many years that it will go by really quick. But maybe the first time it goes by really quick, and then after that they take their time. I don't know. But everybody raves about how great, the sex is with someone as soon as they're released from prison. At least on Love After Lockup, they do. So the next day, of course, Joey tells us how great it was, whatever. Joey also wants to let us know that he does not believe in using protection. Have no idea why anybody would want to believe that, and then to kind of be bragging about it, like, I never use protection, like it's a flex. Joey, you look stupid. You look idiotic. Why would you admit something like that on television? I never use protection. The way that you were getting down, sleeping with one cousin and then cheating on that cousin with the other cousin, and here you are bragging about how you don't use protection and you think it's cool. And then he tells her, "Oh, I think I got you pregnant last night." And he says that he wants to have his own children, even though he understands he has to be a daddy to her two little boys. He says he wants to have his own children, and he's hoping that one day they get to have a girl because she's got two boys. Do you also want to have your own wedding? Do you want to get married first? Do you want to, try to build something with her, some type of foundation before you introduce more children into this? Okay, so they stop by the store because he wants to buy toys for her kids. He tells her, "Give me your card. I want to do this alone because I don't want you to influence me on what I get to buy for your boys," because he wants to be like totally his own decision of what he buys them. He racks up a $318 bill, or a $318 whatever at the damn toy store. $318 worth of toys. $318 worth of toys on her card. So when he gets in the car with all the stuff, she asks him, "Well, how much did you spend?" He was like, "Oh, about $318. And she's like, okay, I'm just a single mom, teaching assistant, making $15 an hour, but okay, yeah, that's a great idea." So eventually she says that she's going to want him to start working. She's given him about 6 months to find a job because she wants him to be a provider. Yeah, he's going to have to be a provider. He's going to have to get a job ASAP. The way he's out here with that protection. Yeah. So they get to the house. He meets her boys, and they change into matching Christmas pajamas. Her and him and the little boys, and whatever. Pretending to be like one big happy family around Christmas time. We'll see how long that lasts. Moving on to Keith and Letitia. So Letitia finds out that Keith may not be getting an early release. She calls the prison. The prison tells her, "We know nothing about an early release. This new law that came into effect does not apply to your husband's case, so you may want to talk to your lawyer." Now, Letitia tells us that it was a paralegal that was working on Keith's case, and they paid the paralegal about $1,000 for him to try to do this early release thing for Keith. Evidently, it didn't work. So Letitia's pissed because the prisons have no record of Keith being released early. They say, according to their own records, he's going to be released during his regular DOC release date. There is no early release. So she's pissed off. She's calling the paralegal. I wonder if the paralegal was portraying an attorney, was holding himself out as an attorney, because I was like, why are you paying a paralegal to do this early release? Shouldn't you be paying an attorney for this? I don't know what's going on there, but it seems like the paralegal was doing something really shady. So she's calling the paralegal, trying to get to the bottom of this. Is he going to be out soon or not? Does this law apply to his case or not? What's really going on? The paralegal is unanswering, so she decides to pull up on him, as she says, to figure out exactly what's going on. Letitia seems like somebody that you don't want to play with. Okay? She seems like somebody that you do not want to go toe to toe with. So I hope that paralegal is prepared, because he took $1,000 from her and she got nothing. They got nothing. He's still going to be in prison until his originally scheduled release date. That's all I got for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.